Another Arsenal game, another win, but another tough watch. This time, Arsenal facing Everton off the back of a win against Wolves, a last minute win that was less than impressive. Arsenal came up against Everton, who they have struggled against in a number of occasions, and they pull off the win. A penalty by Victor Gyökeres was the decisive goal for an Arsenal team who had moments in the game, but never really seemed to be in full control and didn't seem to be able to put away their chances. Guys, we're going to go into all of the goings on in this game and focus on what we saw from Arsenal, what we saw from Everton, and how Arsenal can kind of put themselves in the best position going forward. So, first and foremost, Arsenal entered into this game in second place. So, Man City played first. They got rid of West Ham pretty easily, showcasing a lot of their talent in that game. Haaland scoring twice, I believe. Foden and Cherki playing very, very well. And Arsenal needed to respond. So as we came into this game, the starting lineup for Arsenal was one that I think we all could have kind of predicted. Gyökeres up top, Trossard and Saka on the wings, Odegaard, Zubimendi, Rice in the midfield, Timber, Calafiori at the fullback positions, and Piero and Saliba at centre back with Raya in goal. No major surprises. Honestly, I would have liked to see Eze in the team, but if you know Mikel, and obviously Odegaard is our captain, he's most likely going to play in games like this. Coming into the game, again, Arsenal needed to get their kind of foothold within the game, and it took a little while. I'd say for the first 10 minutes, it was pretty poor. As you can see from the momentum here, it took Arsenal a while to get their foothold in the game, roughly around probably 10-15 minutes for Arsenal to actually start to gain some control of the game. And as we mentioned previously, Arsenal have struggled against Everton in recent years. You can see the 1-1 draw last season, the draw at home as well. It's been hit and miss for Arsenal, and we have dropped some crucial points to Everton. So coming into this game, obviously wasn't at Goodison, which is a good thing for us. It was going to be very, very interesting to see how we would get on. And again, as mentioned, it took us a little while to get our foothold into the game, but once we did, we started creating a little bit more. There was a chance from Zubimendi, if I'm not mistaken, early on in the game, which he couldn't put into the back of the net, and it was just starting to show that Arsenal potentially could have. It was potentially showing that Arsenal could get their foot into the game and potentially start to create and start to do some really good things. That was a chance from Zubimendi, was high and wide, could have potentially been a little bit better from his standpoint. And then we had some of the bigger moments within the game. So firstly, we'll go to the main man, the who is playing up front for Arsenal. Gyökeres was in the box. I believe it was Saka who whipped in a cross. He was pushed by O'Brien. For me, it was a clear penalty, clear as day. You can talk about Gyökeres' failings, but he's a willing runner, and he did what he didn't do last week in the Wolves game, which is kind of bank on the chance and bank on the ball. He did this time, and he looked like he was going to score pretty much an open goal. O'Brien pushes him, he doesn't get that opportunity. VAR look at it, they don't give the penalty, and you're thinking from an Arsenal fan standpoint, pretty unjust. But no more than a minute later, O'Brien gives up a penalty with one of the weirdest handballs ever, both hands up in the box from a corner. He handballs it clear as day, even if VAR didn't want to give it, they had to. And who would step up? It would be Gyökeres. He gets the penalty, he puts it into the back of the net, and Arsenal go 1-0 up, 1-0. That is desperately, desperately needed. No taking it away from him, that the importance of that penalty, and the way he struck it was pure venom. I actually like the way he celebrated because he wasn't overly impressed. It's like, this is what I need to be doing and I need to get more. The problem is his performance throughout the game didn't really show that. To me, he has a style which is more adaptive for opposition who are playing a higher line. He likes to run in behind. The team have an obligation to find him. He also has an obligation to do his bit a bit better as well. So both parties are at fault. When I talk about Gyökeres, the hold-up play isn't good enough. The link-up play to me also isn't good enough, and he has the ability to do so. I think mainly when I talk about kind of what he is doing for us. The touches in the box aren't as high as you would like, and that goes pretty much across the team. He didn't complete a successful dribble. And I think here is where I have the biggest worry. He's not winning his duels. He's not out battling people, and he's a strong boy. He is a strong boy. He's fast, or is perceived as being pretty fast and pretty strong, but he's not outrunning anybody. He's not out strengthening anybody, and that leaves a lot of worry and concern because if those physical attributes aren't translating over to the Premier League, then it's going to be very, very difficult. Again, he has to do his job. He scored today, but I know he needs to produce more from open play, and I think he knows he needs to produce more from open play. That was a decisive goal, as mentioned. A lot of pressure on Arsenal to extend the lead. They had a great opportunity from Trossard later on in the game. If we look at the stats, Arsenal did have a number of shots, but none of them were as decisive as the Trossard shot, which hit the post, I believe. Just wasn't a good enough finish from my standpoint. We can look through the shots, and this was the particular one that I was talking about. Arsenal hitting the post, and the longer the game was at 1-0, Everton were having, as many chances as Arsenal. You can see here 5 shots, one on target in the second half of the game. A lot of these shots were in dangerous positions. Arsenal giving up the ball a lot. If we go back to the team as well, Zubimendi, as good as he can be at times, was losing the ball quite a bit in the midfield. I know he had a high level of accurate passes, but there was just something around him losing the ball and not being as effective as he could have been. He again had a lot of good, but there were some areas where I thought you could have been a little bit better. Odegaard, again, I felt was missing in the game a lot of the time. A lot of passes, yeah, high success pass rate, but I just wasn't convinced by what he was doing in the team. He was creating some chances maybe towards the latter stages of the game, but again, touches in the opposition box, passes into the final third to me need to be a lot higher. He needs to be our main creator, and I'm not seeing that. You had Saliba, who was making better balls and better passes for Gyökeres than Odegaard. Declan Rice, fantastic performance as always, mainly from a defensive side in this game. If we just look at some of his defensive stats, 3 tackles, 4 clearances, he had 2 interceptions, 10 recoveries, didn't get duel pass, was winning his duels, and he is a stalwart, and he's someone who really does deserve a brilliant run at a trophy. If I'm being honest with you, he is somebody who has all the talent, all the skills. Saka again played well, was effective on the right. Timber, defensively, very, very good. Going forward, I think he can be a bit better. And that's just, again, he's one of the best defenders in the world, in my opinion. Out and out defender, lockdown defender, yes. Going forward, he has really good moments, but I think if I was talking about from an attacking standpoint, Ben White to me is a much better attacker than Timber, and that's still something I hold strong. Calafiori obviously putting up positions wherever you see him playing in midfield, you see him up front, diverse, but sometimes you want a little bit more structure within your team. Arsenal were shaky, to be honest with you. They never had full control, as mentioned. I think we could have put the game away. I think we could have been more aggressive even in our substitutions. If we take a look who came on, again, Gabriel Martinelli, Mikel Moreno, and Gabriel Jesus came on. Happy with the Jesus change. Gyökeres in open play just wasn't doing what he needed to do. I would have liked to see Eze come on. I would have liked to see Noni Madueke come on. And something that we'll discuss because Noni had 2 goals against Club Bruges, played very, very well, and we haven't seen him in the last 2 games. Just doesn't really make sense to me. I know we'll have the game on Tuesday against Palace. We will need these players on the bench to play and perform. I understand that, but also I think giving players a fair shake to play is also important. Not seeing Eze, for me, Odegaard was not at the races. Personally, I would have liked to see Eze come on. We get Mikel Moreno, and again, I understand it late in the game. You want to lock it down with someone like Moreno, who can kind of sit back and support the midfield a little bit more. But also, I think sometimes the best form of defense is attack, and I think with Arsenal conceding, I believe it's either 60 or 80% of our goals in the last 10 minutes of games. We have tried to sit back at times. We do get too deep. Would like to see us kind of push on, put those more dynamic players onto the pitch and see how we can exert pressure onto the opposition. I think that's mainly it. I know David Raya got man of the match from a football standpoint. I think Saka actually received the player of the match. There wouldn't be anything major to call out from my standpoint, mainly because Arsenal had two shots on target the whole game. One shot on target from Everton, who were in and around the game, never really shut out. And Arsenal need to think about how they create, because you look at a Man City who they are going up against for the title. They are scoring at a ridiculous rate. And again, Arsenal are not doing themselves any disservice. They have the best defense in the league by far. That's something I am extremely proud of the team for doing. Um, but they also need to be cognizant of the goals that they're scoring. And they're second. They've scored the second most amount of goals in the league. It's good, but how can we push on? How can we kill off games at a higher rate? I would like to see us try and do a couple of things differently. If we look at the Arsenal fixtures as well, very, very important. Palace on Tuesday, as mentioned, Brighton, Aston Villa again, and then Bournemouth. These are three games that Arsenal had dropped points in last season. They cannot afford to repeat that. The Brighton game needs to be one that Arsenal put away and win. Their Villa game after the loss against Villa away must be rectified. And then Bournemouth away, which is never going to be easy. Arsenal need to get all 3 points before playing Liverpool. Very, very tough. But if you want the biggest prizes in the game, you have to perform from a team standpoint as well. Gyökeres has the most goals in the league, 5. We need to produce more. I know there's an all-round effort with Arsenal, but there needs to be someone who's going to stand out and really take the games over with their goal scoring. And hopefully that is Gyökeres. If not, someone else needs to stand up, or we'll have to move as a collective. In terms of best players for Arsenal this season, I wouldn't really argue with this list. Saka, Rice, and Gabriel. Arsenal need Gabriel back desperately. There was a point in the game as well where we were seeing Saliba, who was pretty solid and played pretty well. He was having trouble with Beto a lot. There were penalty shouts for Everton for Barry against Zubimendi as well, but again that was a moment that was looked at by VAR and rejected. And Arsenal move on again, not as bad as last week, even though we won. I just think we need to see how we can push on. We need to see how we can adapt, and we need to see how we can improve, because that is the way we can go into these other difficult games in a much better position. That's been my opinion, guys. I want to hear your comments. Who was your player of the match? What were your thoughts on the match, and who do you think could have done better? And what do we need to change to start scoring more goals? Is it the system? Is it the players? Is it a bit of both? I would love to hear your opinions. Guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Peace.